We've
Coffee.
already started.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. I am Katie Sackhoff, and this is Blah, Blah, Blah with Katie and Christian. Hi.
Back again. We did it.
This is episode 5. We're doing it. That's okay.
When you said Christian, I just kept it on you. So let's do what.
All right.
We'll go back to that again. All right, Katie.
Stop texting your wife. I get it. She's hot.
No, the minute we start, people start
I'm
calling
sorry. This is part of the interview.
Welcome
I
to
feel
my
like-
life.
This is okay, you guys. Hi, it is Katie Sackhoff, and this is Blah 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 with Katie Sackhoff and Christian Harloff, and we are here on our 5th episode. I swear we haven't been day drinking. We just, we're just figuring things out
I
this
so
morning.
want you to open that fridge and take out beer now.
I am still recovering from the convention I did this weekend, and my neck is hurting, my arm's hurting. I feel like I've got like carpal tunnel.
But I feel we have a bit of a solution to that problem now.
We do.
Yeah.
What is it?
You're going to tell me about this book.
I haven't read it.
Oh.
So you guys, we're here talking about, this is basically our In Hindsight episode, with Glenn Howerton. So we're talking about our interview with Glenn. And one of the things that is I bought the book, the Dr. Sarno book, Healing Back Pain. I haven't read it.
Well, you will. Probably on the next, hopefully you will.
I probably
You should. Yeah.
I probably should have gotten the what's the read to you version?
For idiots?
No. When the author reads it to you on Amazon, what's
book?
it called? Audible.
Oh. You had to get there. You had to get there. But we did it.
I should have. That'd be great if they were a sponsor. I do love Audible.
After that compelling read. They're in. I just got a
What's
text.
that? That thing called the read to you thing.
Yeah, the red. Hey, it's the computer, the AI comes on, it tells you the thing, and the next thing you know.
To you. Where's that? The read to you, the Audible.
Yeah.
I should have gotten the Audible because I probably would have read it by now.
Okay, well, you will.
Or at least listened to it.
The point is that part of the conversation was fascinating to me because everything with the snowboarding and how I didn't realize the story that you told. That kid knocked you on your head. When you said that thing, when you're like, my head slammed against the floor so hard, I could visualize it. It's like,
it did.
Yeah.
It literally did. I've had quite a few headbangs in my life where I've had concussions. I got a concussion during Longmire. For Longmire fans out there was an episode that we did with Peter Stormare where he was like beating me like mercilessly with a motorcycle helmet on. I didn't realize this was an actual thing where people would put a motorcycle helmet on someone and hit the motorcycle helmet because then there's no bruises on the face, but you can do a lot of damage to somebody's head, supposedly. Yeah. So we did this in an episode, and I remember the stunt guy saying, you're going to run into him on this. And I did all my own stunts on Longmire, except for the horse stuff. I didn't do that stuff. But and they said, just hit him like a football player. And I was like, okay, I'm not a football player.
Right.
As much as you think I am tough, as much as you think I'm the person that's going to punch someone in the face, I am not that person.
And how big is Peter?
I am not. Peter Stormare is like over 6 feet tall. Yeah. And I hit him with the top of my head because I didn't know you're supposed to drop a shoulder and hit. I've never played football.
That's the kid
I have
Poltergeist.
dated football players. I have never played football.
Yeah.
And I hit him and I got what's called a compression concussion where my spine went into the base of my skull.
I hate that so much just thinking about it.
And I was so sick. I was vomiting. I had a migraine that hurt so bad. I mean, it was unlike anything I've ever felt. And then I got another concussion on that show afterwards that was from that same injury, but it was from firing the gun. Police officers get this, I guess. If anyone is in law enforcement and knows of this, please, in the comments would be great. Supposedly, the kickback from the gun, if you're holding your head the wrong direction, can pinch your ocular nerve and go into your eyeball. And I was firing a gun on Longmire, it was a scene again in that episode with Peter Stormare. So my head was probably primed because of the other injury.
How far apart?
I don't remember.
You don't remember.
I don't remember, but he and I had a few episodes together, but I believe it was the same episode. And I thought, and we were shooting at night, and I very clearly remember, I thought I had been hit in the back of the head by a branch or something. It was that windy. And I turned around in the scene and there was nothing there. And it was from the gunfire. And I got such an intense headache that I was like pounding Advil to try and get rid of it. I took 12 Advil that day and fell asleep for a few hours. And it ultimately went away. But I was in a lot of pain. So I've had a bunch of concussions in my life.
Well, when it's funny because when you guys are talking about the snowboarding and you're talking about all these stunts, you realize that as you tell these stories, there are people who doubted themselves as couch potatoes going, no, I'm doing it all right now. Couch potatoes have no regrets anymore after hearing those stories.
Whatsoever. Yeah. You're so protected.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing? You're just sitting there. I mean, although
you have bed sores,
but you did say you threw your back out sleeping. So maybe the same person.
I have lived a very full life in my 43 years so far. I have put my body through it. Yeah. And I love doing that because it reminds me I'm alive. Yeah, sure. You know, I think that and not to get too like deep into it, but I got sick and had cancer 15 years ago. And I think in that moment, I realized at a young age that every day really is a gift. And every day you have your full faculties and your mind is working and your body is working and your family is safe and healthy and you have a roof over your head is a day you are doing better than most people. And so I love to push my body to extremes because it makes me feel alive. Whether that's working out or on set, doing stunts, whatever it is, I love feeling alive, even if it's hurt.
I totally understand that. I mean, you can tell that just from the conversation that you guys were both having. And I think so far what I've had the opportunity to see from situations like that, having you, I think, relate to Glenn in that same type of philosophy, same type of philosophy that you and Bryce related to. It's been fun to be kind of like a fly on the wall listening to these things, not only through the edits, but obviously being there while you're doing it. But it's that overall kind of comfortability that you've had so far with both your guests because you know them. And then we won't say yet, but we have guests coming in that that you aren't as familiar with. So I'm very curious how that's going to go. But I did want to ask you, how are you feeling as you're now, this new venture of having conversations more so than interviews, I think?
I think that once I realized that, my strong suit may be just talking to people as opposed to really interviewing them. Yeah. Because I love conversing with people. I love finding out things about them and learning new things about people that you've actually known your entire life or for a very long time. And so I think that may be, we are slowly finding the rhythm of the show and leaning into what I'm, my strong suits, I guess. And I think that might be it. And I think I was really intimidated by being an interviewer. Right. And I think sort of like shifting the perspective and being a conversationalist as opposed to an interviewer has been good for me.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, like I said, I didn't know enough about Glenn. I mean, I didn't really even know that much about Bryce other than what I've seen on the screen. Know that she's a really great director and great actress. And with Glenn, I had just watched Blackberry. And I was going to watch it before, and then you told me that we were getting him, so I watched it right away. It's one of my favorites of the year so far.
Me too.
And it's not hyperbole. This guy, he is so good in this movie. He
is so good. And it makes me so happy and proud of him in a weird way every time I see an article come out that talks about him in an awards sort of context, because I do believe, and if you haven't seen Blackberry, please go see this movie. I truly believe that if he is not in the conversation during award seasons, that an injustice has occurred.
Well, he needs to be considered for sure, and I hope that's why. I mean, I had an opportunity when he was leaving, as far as to say, I said to him as much. I think that he should be in the conversation. I said to him, I know sometimes that's taboo to bring it up and everything too, but like my hope is that that his team puts out that push, because that's really what it's about in the business. The team's got to make the push. You look at so right before she was nominated, Andrea Riseborough came on my show, and I had not heard about this movie that she was doing, and they sent it to me. I was like, oh my God, she should be in the conversation. And then she wound up getting nominated for it, and she should. It was a small film that she was in, but like the interesting
Is that the one that had a lot of controversy behind it?
Yeah, because of the way that what happened was
she went about getting.
Well, she has friends. She has had friends like Gwyneth Paltrow and I think Edward Norton.
And she campaigned. Well, supposedly, but they tweeted, is that the problem?
I think it was the fact that they tweeted out, and she had friends, famous friends, that said, "Hey, go and check this movie out," and then she kind of marketed through them. But she ultimately, nothing happened to her because, in my opinion, it's
that's just smart word of mouth,
it's just
right?
Smart word of mouth.
It's not like they were putting the ballots in the mailboxes.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot that went into it, but becoming what was the name? It was Brett. You look that up? It's Becoming.
I hadn't seen the movie. I just knew about the controversy because they brought it up.
Yeah, but my point of it is that it came out early enough that nobody even knew what it was until she was nominated for. Even now, when I said to somebody, someone asked me recently what your favorite movies are of the year, and I said Air and Blackberry, and they said, what's Blackberry?
Yeah,
everybody says, what's Blackberry?
I know
that conversation needs to go away. It needs to be like, oh yes, because he is so good in that movie, and the movie is so fascinating, and Jay Baruchel's really good in it too.
He's so good in it. Yeah. I so sympathized with Glenn when he was talking about how, you're in the conversation, you do a project that's getting buzz, and then there's a strike, or there's something happens in our news cycle that is, we have this 24-hour news cycle now where big news goes away in a heartbeat. So I understood how it's this thing that could change your career is in the conversation, and then something happens that takes it out of the conversation for whatever reason. And, it's sort of one of those weird things that happen in our industry that you start to get buzz, you start to get recognition, you start to get that feeling that more people are paying attention to you in the industry and out of the industry. And then all of a sudden there's a strike.
Yanked.
And you lose all your momentum.
Right.
And momentum in this industry is one of the hardest things to get. And if you are lucky enough to get it multiple times in your career, you are lucky. And I've had it 2 times in my career, and nothing's come out of it for whatever reason, whether that be just circumstances or, the fault of my team at the time.
Right.
Whatever the reason, it turned into nothing. And so that is the thing that scares you, where you're like, great, so now you're in this big show, this big movie, and that momentum could potentially go nowhere, which is scary.
Well, that's why I hope more people do watch the movie and get an opportunity to tweet it out and talk about it and get a chance. I watched it on, I think, Amazon Prime, or I rented it off Amazon, or whatever it was. And it's really, it's great because it does transition to everybody. He's well known for It's Always Sunny, which you guys talked about.
We talked about that, yeah.
And to know, and then you even said in the beginning, it was kind of, he went to Juilliard. It's very, and I love that he doesn't carry himself
Juilliard?
Like I went to Juilliard. He doesn't
it's
carry
Juilliard as a thing.
He doesn't carry himself like that at all. And the fact that what you said to him was I can't believe that you didn't study comedy. It's that, not what you're known for, when that's really what he made his career off of,
Yeah. It is funny to me that a person can you get that fire that starts, like myself, Battlestar.
Right.
That the thing that you become most known for becomes the thing that people think you do.
Right.
That's all you do. And not that I had a crazy career as something else. I mean, I was the annoying blonde girl that everyone wanted to die in projects until I got Battlestar.
Right.
Well, this is actually a really interesting thing about my career. So up until Battlestar, I was called chubby in this industry. I was known as my manager would get phone calls and, oh yeah, the chubby girl from the show with Richard Dreyfuss. These are the conversations that people would have, because I was not, at the time when I started in this industry, girls, young women were much more slender than I was. I was always much more athletic. That was called the big girl, this girl, that girl. I was called a big girl in a photo shoot with the other girls from Battlestar Galactica. They had one outfit that would fit me, and they said, give this to the big girl. To me. Like, these are the things. So my point is, when I booked Battlestar Galactica, I was the exact same size that I was for the 6 years of my career before that. But the perception shifted when all of a sudden people went, oh, but she's just the athletic girl with the muscles. Whereas 6 months before, I was the chubby girl.
Right.
My body didn't change. It was the exact same.
The role changed. The perception changed.
The perception of me changed based on the role.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, that's what people thought I did when I didn't change at all. And you know, that was something that was really hard for me to sort of like get over. But at the same time, it then became my bread and butter. And this whole Battlestar thing, people are like, you know, you're typecast, you're this, you're that. There's worse things to be typecast as than strong, capable females. But someone like Glenn, you know, he is known as a comedy guy, and he has no history in comedy, no training in comedy, no nothing. But the first thing he booked when he got to California was the 80s show.
The 80s show, right.
Which was comedy.
It's funny that, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it seemed to me like, you know, because when you mentioned, because you knew what show he was talking about, he's like, yeah, I did a show out here. And you're like, the 80s show. And he's like, yeah, the 80s show. And I because that show, he said it, I think, too. I don't think the show did very well, whatever, too. And there's some projects that you take the job, it starts your career, it helps you. But there's some you're just like, yeah, that was then, you know, now it's the Always Sunny guy. I'm the Blackberry guy. And like, it's like, that is what I think that a lot of people don't give comedic, whether it's stand-up comedians, comedic actors in general, if they can transition to the dramatic roles, they're next level. You look at Robin Williams, you look at Jim Carrey, you know, you look at I mean, even look at like what Kristen Wiig did in was it the Skeleton Twins or the one like there are, and this is what I think that what Glenn Howerton did is that he takes that stuff that he knew so well from the things that he had done. There are comedic moments in Blackberry,
of course there are,
but not in a way that it's, oh, this is just you don't take this serious. No, take it serious. But there are people that are like this that don't even realize how ridiculous they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's that thing. Your wife and I had this conversation when you guys first started dating, that she was a little freaked out to go out with you because she's like, I am not dating a tortured comedian.
Right.
Because the association is, or this sort of like unspoken or spoken thing about comedians is that they're really funny on stage, but they've got some dark shit going on. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's why people that are funny have such an easy time going to these dark, dramatic projects.
Right.
Because they are tortured in a sense. Not that I'm saying Glenn is, because I actually know Glenn personally is not tortured at all.
Yeah.
He's like, I think he's just a naturally funny guy.
No, but he internalizes. And there's a difference between just being tortured and internalizing. And I certainly internalize, right? And he said it as much. And I actually related to it when he said that, and you said the same thing. I very much find myself, there are times that I'm very extroverted, and then there's times I'm very introverted. Like very much so. Like there's been times that I've worked places where I've just kind of been like, you might as well been, oh, that is an introverted person. But you wouldn't describe me as that, right? Knowing me. But like there are sometimes I'm at a party and I want to talk to everybody. There's other times I don't, I just want to.
When you're on Coke?
What's that? Yeah.
Hey,
it's me. I'm only going to be this for like an hour. but no, there was no.
I'm kidding. Christian doesn't use cocaine.
No, but that clearly from my description of it, clearly. But either way, it's I related to that conversation, and it's funny because there's always I don't think it's just a matter of actors and comedians. There are a lot of people in general who do these high level jobs, and there's so much going on in here. It's just a matter of how you navigate, you know. And I think that comes, and I think you said it recently, with as you start to do more. I think you said it with Bryce, was that when you start to do these things more as you get, she was talking about her dad and how her dad said actors with age, you know, get better. And I think that's I got that in this conversation also. Like as Glenn went to school and did these things, he got better as he learned more.
You do. And you get better, I believe, with that life experience. And I've said this I don't remember if it was with Glenn or with Bryce, where, you know, my heart is on my sleeve now. Like, I'm just getting going. I want someone now to give me a role that really requires some deep shit because I'm there.
Right.
I have it now. I have the ability to tap into things that I did not have the ability to tap into 15, 20 years ago because my life was very easy, for lack of a better explanation, you know? And so I do think that the older we get, the more we have to draw from.
Yeah, I mean,
and it does make actors better.
Well, of course. I mean, I think that from you just mentioned before, whether it was the cancer that you went through, or like, and that's just one of many things that you've gone through in your life that you can now tap into a certain emotion that maybe some other people don't have yet, or you know, or in not just that particular circumstance, but just emotions that you're able to channel as you just get older, and you can. Oh, I remember how I felt when I was 34 and I was in this position. It was the worst feeling in the world. Like, and you just, you get there, right? And you find a way to do that. And I think that was a very important conversation that I think that, I mean, even Glenn, when you talked to him in the beginning, his perception of you when you were like, you're hard to read, Glenn. And
yeah,
what he said it, he's like, you know, because at first he's like, I am. And then he's like, you know, people have said that to me. And he kind of like, he kind of brought out, that was a great part of the conversation. It really was. And it was so good. That's why I said to you before we started, I was like, I don't think you realize how good you are at this, because people have started to open up to you already, and they just feel like, I don't know, I mean, just sitting here with you talking to you about it, it's just like, it's just fun to talk to you.
I think that, do you think it's because I'm so self-deprecating that I think people sort of open up?
I think that they feel comfortable. I don't think that, no, I thought you were going to say self-deprecating is that's why you're so hard on yourself. Yes, on that, but no, I think that I think it's the same reason that if you look at what the audience has said so far, you're inviting. And that's what I told you when we were going to do the show. I said, you're inviting people believe you because you're authentic. And that's
one of the things that Glenn, thank you, by the way. It's one of the things that Glenn talked about that also rings true with me is people, and I said this when we started this podcast, people are craving authenticity.
Yeah.
People want to know that they're getting the real you. Where I'm too tired. I'm too tired to try and play games and figure out if I'm getting the real person. I just want authenticity, even if I disagree with you. And even if like you are not my cup of tea and I am not yours, at least I know it's really you. Yeah. Don't pretend. Like, I'm too tired for this shit.
Well, this was one of my favorite things. I haven't told you this. I'll tell you on air. I won't say who the particular guest was, but I had recommended, I said, hey, what if we went after this particular guest? And you said, sure, I'll talk to them if they're going to be authentic.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the right answer. It's the right answer. It's like, because that's what you want to do with this show.
I'll talk to anyone if they're going to give me who they really are.
Right.
And that's the thing that, you know, one of the things that I think we've lost in this country and in the world recently is that, you know, I think for a long time, it used to be that you could sit down with anyone and have a beer. Mm-hmm. You could find something you had in common with a person and enjoy an hour.
Right.
And maybe learn a little something about them. Maybe not change their mind, maybe not change your mind. Mm-hmm. But we didn't
find common ground.
Right. And we didn't go after the things that we know make us different.
Yeah.
We found the things that made us similar, that made us the same, that we could appreciate about each other. And I feel like that has been lost. We're so argumentative and contrary that we want to fight for whatever reason right now in this culture, in our culture. And I am missing the authentic conversation of let's find our common ground and have a good hour.
Yeah.
And I miss that. And that's what I like about authentic people is so when I say I could talk to anyone, I could talk to anyone for an hour, talk to anyone as long as they're going to give me who they really are.
Right.
If they're going to pussyfoot around, excuse me, is that a terrible thing to say? No. Are we allowed to say pussyfoot around? Can I say pussy?
George Carlin had a great bit about
George Carlin has a penis and is allowed to be crass.
Like pussyfoot. It's perfectly clean, but when you say pussyfoot, there's a little giggle.
Women are not allowed to be crass.
Pussyfoot? That's not pussyfoot.
Pussyfoot is a.
But it's not. It's not pussyfoot.
So pussyfoot has nothing to do with vaginas.
No.
It could be a noun, pussyfoot. A rare disorder.
It's like,
is it about cats?
No, pussyfoot around is like don't try to skate around or don't try to like
but why is it called pussyfoot?
It's an old school saying.
Yeah, but is it about cats? Does it have to do with cats?
It probably originated from cats, but it has nothing.
Cats, I need to know.
It has nothing to do. Yeah.
Where does
you're okay to say pussyfoot. It's like you're not saying, hey, don't be a.
Well, I've already said pussyfoot like 6 times, and I've also said pussy. So we're gonna lose that.
Going after
she is a terrible feminist.
Yeah, stop going after that foot. Don't be a pussyfoot.
My point is I don't.
It's the end of the episode now.
I don't want to. It is like I don't want to wangle. I don't want to have to wangle my way around in pussyfoot.
Can we talk about wangle?
Let's talk about wangle.
You won the internet that day. I hope. I mean, as far as this, because we haven't aired the episode
well, it
yet.
hasn't aired yet.
But man, that was such a great moment because you said, I'm going to wangle away. I thought it was wrangle when you said it. So when he said, he popped up and went, wangle? And I was like, I started going, yeah, this is going to be a funny moment here. And then you thought you said something wrong. And then Brett looked it up. And then Brett looked like he won the lottery because he was going through and he found it on his phone. And then he goes, look. And I go, oh, this is going to be great. So I handed it to you. And when you go up, you're like, it's a word. And I used it right. It was amazing.
Listen, I am one of those people that consistently uses words wrong, and I don't give a shit.
Right.
Like you know that like 6 a dozen half baby chickens thing?
Yeah, like pussyfoot.
Pussyfoot. I always get sayings wrong. So I was so proud of myself, and I have such an insecurity about my lack of formal education that I really like to use big words sometimes. I use them terribly wrong. And I have a husband with a very large vocabulary, which is where I got wangled. He's the one that uses wangled all the time.
You used it correct. It was a great moment. And it also really showed the type of person Glenn was in that moment. Like he was so fun and he was like, and you used it right. He was so happy. He was like, and the relationship, how long have you known him, by the way?
Not that long.
It
couple
seems
years.
Wow, it seems like you guys have known each other for a bit, but it also showed that of how it was awesome how you guys met and the fact that he was a fan of the show and you guys
we played board games together, and I think that if you play board games with someone, you've seen different sides of them.
Sure.
And I love adult board games.
Yeah.
Do you play board games?
I do. I mean I have kids, so I play with the board games with kids, but adults I did. I had actually my favorite. We played this board game at my friend David Gambino's place, who used to he used to run Robert Downey Jr.'s company. Yeah. And we were playing, and there was this whole bunch of people, and there was this mother and daughter were on this one team, and they were playing. I don't know what the hell they had to figure out. They were showing everybody these kind of charades inside of the board game itself, and then the mother was only giving the daughter clue that, and it's like 6 people on the team or something, and only giving the daughter the clues that she would know. But as if everyone else would, it's like that one time when your father showed you that thing at the horse. Come on, everybody's got this. It's like the horse was green. It had the green thing on the side of it. Everyone, you should know this. The horse, and she goes through it, and then the guy on her team, nobody got it.
Of course not.
The guy on the team looks after this dead silence and goes, on her team, I got to tell you, that was a pretty rotten clue that you gave the rest of us. I couldn't hold it, lost it, rotten clue, all of it. I had a great time playing the board games with everybody, but it was just like, I don't know, I'm too tired now to play go past 9 o'clock.
I love board games.
Yeah.
I do. I am a terrible loser.
I can see that.
Terrible loser.
I can see that.
But I'm a very kind winner. I don't like to make people feel bad. So I like gloss over my wins.
Right.
I get proud of myself. I get really excited, almost like a kid who's like learned something new, but I don't push it.
Right.
Because I learned growing up, and this is something that I think Glenn talked about. Did Glenn talk about this? I don't remember. That you're not allowed to brag about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to like be the person that's like, hey, I won.
Right.
Look at that. You suck.
Right.
like don't be that person. That is not confidence.
Right.
That's arrogance.
And you guys did talk about that.
And we did talk about that. And so I think that I am a confident person. I don't have arrogance, I don't believe at all. at all. Even board games. My husband, on the other hand, wins hard.
Does he do the Barry Horowitz kind of pat on the back?
Oh my God. It's like we played Catan and like it like makes me want to murder him. But my mother-in-law is ruthless.
Oh, what?
Ruthless. And she's just like, I'm just an old granny over in the corner. I just don't know what. Fuck you. Yeah. You're like, oh my God, that was awful. I'm just so old. I can't see the cards. I don't know what to. Wait, I'm sorry. Did I grab an extra card? Oh, I'm sorry. Suck it. Yeah.
DX music plays in the background.
I'm sorry, I can't see. Did you need this? Oh, is it my turn? Yeah.
That's a clip out.
That is literally like playing with my mother-in-law. She's not crass, but she will.
But the attitude is crass.
She will. I did not hear this woman swear for like 5 years until Catan, and she went, well, fuck, Robin. I was like, what is happening?
It's hilarious how that brings that up.
Just like there's a side of her that comes out. Like that is like a deep, she wants to win.
Well, but did you see, so then that's how you met Glenn though, through board games. So you saw a different side of him?
Well, we didn't meet through board games. We met through a movie night.
Oh,
but
right. That's what you said.
We invited Glenn and his wife Jill over for a game night at our house one night. And that was when I really started enjoying Glenn's company because I find that he is very similar to me in gameplay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, there's a lot of similarities. I think that was just throughout that interview. And I think already with 2 interviews in already, or 2 conversations rather. And I think that we've said this, we don't know how long they're going to go. They could go 45 minutes. They can go an hour and a half. They can go whatever. And it never felt, it was very similar to what I said with Bryce. As I was looking and I felt like, I walked in on 2 people at a coffee shop having a conversation and just kind of, but I never felt like I was on the outside. I always felt it was very inviting to where it was in. And that one even more so because as we were talking about how this show is evolving, it's like, if you ever need myself or Brett,
excuse me, I just burped.
God bless you.
Thank you. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, what'd you drink?
Excuse me, just water.
Oh, does that get you sometimes?
It does sometimes.
That's all right. Hey,
it does.
Whatever it is, whatever it takes. I did the
acid reflux.
I do the bubblies.
Well, that'll do it.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. Speaking of sounds,
yes. What do you got? Sound of silence.
I looked up. Let me get through my notes. Misophonia.
Okay.
That Glenn brought up.
Yeah.
So is a disorder of decreased tolerance to specific sounds or their associated stimuli or cues. These cues known as triggers. So everyone in the world now.
I think I have a bit of this, by the way.
Do you?
I think so.
So it's basically like it can evoke strong negative emotional, psychological, behavioral responses that are not seen in most other people. And they literally said like it can bring out rage.
I don't know about that to the extent of that, but you know what gets me? I don't know why commercials, radio commercials, the pouring of liquid. I don't know why it bothers me.
It sounds
so
like peeing.
But it's like when they open up like a beer commercial and they're like pouring in the beer to think.
Yeah.
I don't know why it drives me. Yeah, it drives me.
Oh,
nuts.
that sound?
Yeah, I don't know why. Not in life, but on commercials, it drives me crazy. I don't know why that is. Well, what did he say? What was his? Was it chewing gum? Right.
Yeah, chewing gum.
Yeah.
He said he's got dog ears. He can hear it like from forever away.
Yeah, that's tough. It drives me nuts when people chew gum on air. I used to.
Yeah, I mean, like it drives me. I wanted so desperately as my character Vic in Longmire to chew gum because I thought it was very like, it's just a thing. I wanted it to be her thing, and they were like, "No, you look like anyone who chews gum on camera looks like a cow." And because I don't know, and so I didn't.
Probably
get
also
to chew
hard
gum.
continuity, right?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know. But yeah, what was the other thing that I wanted to bring up about Glenn and the sounds?
I like how honest it was about that.
Yeah, which was great. I love the authenticity, the vulnerability. Yeah. I do believe that vulnerability makes you stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Being honest with people makes you stronger because it's helping them grow. It's helping you grow. We're all just trying to do the best we fucking can.
Yeah, I could also tell with him that he has done podcasting as well, from how confident he was
with the Always Sunny podcast.
With the Always Sunny podcast, and but the way that he knew to kind of take the moments, the conversations, the listening, the back and forth, like he's done it before. You know, he's been there, and I think both your conversations have been like obviously authentic conversations thus far. You just tell like, oh, he has experience in podcasting as well.
Well, sometimes like as a guest of a podcast, you can tell what someone wants to talk about.
Yeah,
you know, like you can like you know, I used to always say that like when someone asked me a question in a podcast, like you never know what the interviewer is going to be like.
Right.
And so a lot of times I will just talk for 20 minutes straight to give them what they need so they don't have to try too hard. And so I did that a lot of times because I've done interviews with phenomenal interviewers and terrible ones. And I want them both to have the same type of interview, you know?
Well, I think that's funny though, too, because a lot of times I used to do junkets long time ago. I like, as you know, I like to do longer conversations. So 3 to 4 minutes, I just can't do it because
I hate it.
It takes me, because Fandango would tell me, they'd go, well, your initial question was like 1.5 minutes. I'm like, yeah, because I'm setting it up and getting the vibe. Like, yeah, but you only have 3.5 minutes. And I'm like, I can't do this. But like, but one of the things that people would do, I can't remember who it was in particular, but I'm like, oh, you're going to get one question and that's it. Because the person would either know, maybe it's basically the same thing. Like, I'm just going to give you a long answer. That's our time. See you later. And I get it. You're doing so many of these things, but it's just like why I don't do those anymore. Because I like to do this.
Well, and also like, you know, when I was doing press for Mandalorian, no matter how much a person comes in thinking that they're going to ask you a different question, it ends up being a version of the same question that every single person is asked. Right. And so you end up answering the same question 40 times in a day. Yeah. And it's fine. And it's not anyone's fault. No. It's just that everyone has a very similar interest in what you as a performer have done.
Sure.
And so the answers end up being very similar.
Yeah. And the flip side of that too is also that, so people like yourself and other people are aware too, and I'm sure you already are, but when you do that, like, so that particular person comes in and asks you a version of that question, right? Their audience, whether it's reading or YouTube, they might be seeing that for the first time ever on their channel or their website.
Absolutely.
So even though that you've been asked it 40 times, the one out of that 40 is the one that's seen by maybe the larger audience because that person asked it.
I can't tell you how many times in the last 1.5 years I have been asked, so what was it like taking your character from animation to live action? Was it difficult at all?
Right.
It's the same question. Oh, and I have answered this so many times. It's so weird to me to think that people haven't seen this answer because I've everywhere. I feel like I've answered it everywhere. But like it is egotistical to think that every person in the world has watched every interview that I've done. Right.
But
and that there's not people that are still interested in
but it's the human nature part of it too, where you're just like, oh, I've asked this so many, do people still want to hear this?
Oh, these poor people that are listening to this podcast are like, but tell me about it.
right. And then so okay, let me ask you a question. What was it like taking your character from animation?
Could you imagine?
Just type that in. You'll probably be able to find it.
Type it in, Google it.
Yeah, but no, but I was also, the other thing I think that we talked about that you wanted to talk about that we should consider, we're both parents.
Yeah.
Glenn talked about that as well as far as the parenting side of things.
Yeah. I admire he and Jill very much as parents. They are incredibly hands-on, but they also both work full-time. A lot of the times, obviously not every day, but they're both working professionals. They have help. But they've also, everything they do, they're always thinking about their children. They protect their children and shield their children from the lives that they both live. And I find that really admirable.
Yeah. I mean, it was also, I think that's so, it goes back to what we were just talking about with more experience. And as you live more life, you know, and having children, it's just a different experience, right? It does change your perspective on so many different things. And so far with both Bryce and Glenn, to listen to their experiences on it and their perspective on it. And this, because balancing success and balancing successful careers, plus trying to be a successful parent, you never really think that you do it right. Even the best parents in the world always like kind of doubting what they do. Like, oh, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. So it was interesting to get that perspective of someone who is just continuously just kind of doing a lot of just great stuff. And then also balancing, you know, that side of it.
They do something that we started doing, you know, when our daughter was born, all I wanted to do was brag. I just wanted, because I was so excited.
Yeah.
You know, I've been wanting to be a mom for 40 years. Finally a mom. And I wanted to tell the world. I wanted to stand up on a mountaintop and like scream like, I'm a mom. This is amazing. And she's so cute. She's so perfect. She's so this and she's so that. And there's a picture of every, this is a picture of her being born. This is a picture of her 1 day old. This is a picture of her 32nd. Like I wanted to post everything. And then I had to like roll it back and take a deep breath. And Robin and I had talked about it a lot ahead of time, just because of what I do for a living, that we wanted to protect her.
Yeah.
And I think that this is, and everybody has a different opinion about this. Everybody's doing it differently, and that's totally fine. This is not judgment on anyone else and what they're doing with their children. But for us, what we chose to do and what we said was that by the time she started to really look like the person she was going to look like, we needed to stop posting pictures of her face. And we did that because she doesn't get a choice in it.
Right.
And you know, because of what I do for a living, people have a more interest in my family and in that turn my child. And so it is my job as her parent to protect her and her identity to a certain extent. Yeah. And just even just on a very basic level of protect her image so she can do with that image what she wants to do with that image. It's not my right to give away her image,
right?
In my opinion,
I happen to share that opinion. Yeah, the same thing. You know, I clearly, I'm still in with my show that I do and stuff with the audience that I have. So, like, there are people who are always curious. Well, what do your kids look like? And I'm like, very early on, a couple times, my oldest kind of popped into a few of my videos, and then I stopped doing that. And I think it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I happen to agree with your philosophy kind of 100% on it. I will say that I got an opportunity to finally meet your daughter. Holy moly, what a character. She was awesome. And I got a chance to meet her on FaceTime, which was even better.
She called you. She just called Christian. She picked up my phone and like called him. And I was like, I was going to hang up. And I was like, Robin goes, let it play. Yeah. Let it play.
I got a whole family call. It was amazing. It was great because I was walking the dog and the dog was being a little asshole. And I was walking him. And then, so you guys called up. And then I had an opportunity when you guys came and that picture that you posted was from the barbecue.
Yes.
And I know, and I was like, I almost gave like a fist bump because you put like a little smiley face on her face. It was awesome.
I did, and it's you know, it became very clear to me, and the moment we started really doing it was I had posted this beautiful photo of my daughter, and it was from the side, and I thought that she was protected. And that there's been a couple photos that we've posted of her face, but like she's changed so much even from then that I was like, okay. But a lot of photos are from the back or from the side or obscured a little bit. I didn't really put emojis over the face yet. I was just sort of like, okay, whatever. And there was this beautiful picture of my daughter smelling a rose. And my caption on Instagram was like life lessons from a 1-year-old. And I thought it was such a beautiful moment. And, it was picked up by a news cycle of some sort that was talking about my life and my child's life. And it took me back to this moment. Seth Green was talking to me about this actually many years ago when the small print on Instagram changed and everyone realized that the moment you post your picture on Instagram, you don't own it anymore.
Right.
That it can be printed and taken and used anywhere. And Seth and I had this conversation years ago about it of like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to stay on Instagram. And ultimately I did. I believe he did as well. But what it means is that a publication, any publication, can take a picture of my daughter and put it in their magazine.
Right.
They can use it for anything.
Yeah.
And that's my kid.
Right.
And I, in that moment, went, nope, no more. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done. And I started putting emojis over her faces because as soon as you put an emoji over it, they can't use it. Right. They won't use it.
Right, because it doesn't.
Because it ruins the picture or whatever.
Right.
And so we started doing that. And it was you know, it was hard at first too, because we had a conversation with grandparents that wanted to post pictures on Facebook to all their 10,000 friends.
But still, there are
you
people
know, and I was like,
but there are people who maneuver, and you want to if we can maneuver into scary conversation, that actually kind of I think will make you feel better about what you're talking about here.
Oh no, not about your kids.
No,
okay.
I watched this thing on ABC News last night about AI. And they're doing like this new scam they got going on with the kidnapping.
Oh, with the kidnapping.
And the voice
It
stuff.
is terrifying.
Especially for people, public profile and stuff too. Like, and showing what they can do. They had this one reporter and they took this picture from him from where he was like legit. There was like a tornado or something. He was out there, and then they used the AI program and they put him in all these different situations, and he looked like he was there, the shadow, all of it. But then they said, well, let me show you this kind of the kidnapping scam. So they just took his voice and they changed the inflection of his voice to make it look like he was in stress and danger. And it's like, have like certain safe words and other things to know, because it's especially for if you're out there and you're public, they will use this stuff.
I was reading, this is absolutely terrifying. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, I'm sure you can just Google this. It's like a version of deep fake, basically what's happening with people, but it's with voices. Yeah. And I saw it for the first time on TikTok, and it was this girl had come on and she was visibly shaken. Obviously it's TikTok. I don't even know if it's real, but like I Googled if this is happening and it was true. So I don't know if this person's story, but she had said she was with her mom and she was staying with her mom, I believe. I might be paraphrasing and get some of this wrong, but her mom was staying there. She got a call from her sister who was not with them. And it was a kidnapper, and they had her sister's voice. Her sister had been kidnapped. They were asking for money. They said, you can't tell anyone. You can't call the cops. You can't, if you're alone right now, don't tell. And she was so panicked because it was her sister. It was her voice. It was everything about her. And she ended up sending like $5,000 or something.
Without even calling her sister to see if it was
Didn't call her sister, but also didn't go in the other room and tell her mother because the kidnappers told her not to.
Right.
And she was so scared because they said, we're watching you. Don't go tell anyone. Don't do it. Don't go in the other room and tell anyone. So like they leaned into her fear of her sister being murdered.
Right.
And all she had to do was go in the other room, and her mom called her sister, and her sister was fine.
Right. Well,
but she'd sent $5,000 already.
Well, that's what they.
But the damage and the trauma is done.
100%. And that's what they said. You use the safe words. You tell the authorities like immediately, like all that stuff, man. It's like it's so funny. Even the scammers in general, where I don't know if you've been now that as we kind of monitor the YouTube channel, we can see like you could see like as things pop up. I watch like these scammer payback videos. So this guy's Pierogi. I watch this guy. Pierogi's no joke.
I don't know what this is.
Oh, so Pierogi is a guy. If you guys haven't checked him out, he's got like 4 million subscribers, whatever it is, and he has made it. And he's one of many. But he goes through and he finds out all these people who scam these older people out of money. You know, like where they pretended from Google.
Oh, he's a good guy.
Oh, Pierogi's a good guy.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, no, Pierogi's a good guy. And he goes and he takes down these scammers, and he calls them out. He pretends he's an old lady, and he makes pretends he's driving to like the store to get the money, and then he shows them. There's one video where he taps in and he's got their webcam, and he shows their faces and shows them their faces, and they freak out. It's called Scammer Payback. You got to check it out.
Here's the problem. Yeah. No one does anything about it anymore.
Watch this guy's channel. He's gotten people arrested.
Has he?
He's gotten people arrested.
That makes me feel better.
There's a group, and I'm bringing. I watch him the most, but there's a ton of people doing good stuff out there that do this, and they're all going after these scammers, and they're bringing more attention to it because there was this older woman. She must have been like 80 years old. They scammed her out of like $60,000.
It's so sad that they're going after people that don't have spare money.
Yeah, and also like
not that anyone has spare money. No one should get scammed, but you know what I mean? Like someone who's 80 who's not going to go out and get a job, or who has, is living on Medicare, Medicaid, or on their retirement and all of these things that doesn't understand social media, which is why they're a target.
100%, because they're kind, because the whole scam is basically what they do is they tell them that they're working with them to do this, and then the scammers pretend that they send $20,000 over to them. Like, oh my God, man, we just sent you $20,000. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my family. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Like, it's okay. You can help us, ma'am. Just do this. If you go to the bank and get that $20,000 out and just give it to us, and they think that it's an extra 20, but it's the 20 they already have. And then they send them the $20,000. And so Pierogi and all these, I'm telling you, Katie, you got to do a deep dive on Pierogi. You'll watch it. You'll watch it for Hours.
I remember one time I believe this is accurate. I should probably fact check this, but I remember getting an email or a text message from Eddie Olmos. It was an email from him. And I was in Mexico. I broke my foot. And it checked boxes.
Yeah.
And, but his email had just been hacked. And these hackers had gone and emailed everyone in his thing and said, hey, this was many, 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 many years ago, though. So obviously they've gotten better at this. But I remember he immediately was like, I was texting him and was going, what's going on? Are you okay? And he's like, no, don't do anything. My email was hacked. But that was the beginning of this.
Well, they do it all the time. Like you get text now that your Netflix account is suspended.
All the time.
I write back every time and I go, that's sad. And
do you actually respond?
I respond to them all the time. I respond and I go back and forth and I want to do. I am so in awe of what they do over there. Like they have like a full operation where there's this other guy who does like these glitter bombs.
Yes, I saw the glitter bomb thing.
They shut down a whole thing in
San
where
Francisco.
it was. No, this one was in India, and they brought like glitter bombs and fart spray and all this, and they just shut and put mice and cockroaches and released them all in the whole thing. Shut down the whole business.
The thing that frustrated me was I just watched one of his videos actually, and it was about San Francisco and the crime rings where they're actually breaking into people's moving cars now, stopped at stop signs,
carjacking,
and taking taking their luggage or their purses out of the car. Most women put their purse on the passenger seat, so they're breaking into moving cars where you're just slow at a stop sign, and they're breaking in, grabbing the purses, and running. Like this is like crazy.
It's nuts.
But they were this guy did the glitter bomb thing in San Francisco. And it was so frustrating to me to see people who were stealing packages and then giving the packages to their children, telling them that they had stolen this Oculus machine. Not only did you just steal something from someone, but you now taught your child that it's okay to steal.
Right.
Come on, really?
Yeah, it's. I think it goes back to what you were just saying. Is the way the world has just changed dramatically, and everybody thinks they're on a different team.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, but
it's awful.
But it's the beauty of this episode. You can go.
I know, right? I mean, we're all over the place.
I like
we're all over
Real
the place.
upper today, guys. Real upper.
Someone on Instagram though, like reached out to me and they said if you're going to edit your life, why post it at all? About the picture with Ginny, and I was like, because I still want to share my life. Right. I'm sharing my life.
About the most recent one?
Yeah, that one. I'm sharing my life. I'm not sharing hers.
Right.
She's in my life.
Right.
And I'm going to protect her, but I can't not share my life.
Right.
I'm with her 24 fucking hours a day.
And why do you care?
And yeah, exactly. You can unfollow me.
Right.
You don't have to follow me. If you don't like seeing pictures of my child with a smiley face on top of their face, then you should go away.
Yeah, for real.
Like you're not, you can go.
But it is. I mean, I think it goes back to the whole thing with Glenn, the conversation where it's just, because he's got 2 kids now, right?
He's got 2 kids.
Yeah. Like, I remember him.
Tweens.
Crazy. I remember him talking about his, I guess, oldest now when he just born, like he was on Conan or something talking about him.
Yeah.
But like, I will say that it was a great conversation, and I'm glad that people had an opportunity to see it. And I hope people do go and check out Blackberry.
Yeah, I hope they do too. It was really, really phenomenal. And it's one of the things that I've noticed that I wanted to touch on really quick because it goes into children really quick. Yeah. And then also Glenn and Bryce. I noticed the common theme in all the people that we've talked to so far. And we talked to a little bit about this before we started recording, that there is a common theme with the people that we've interviewed whose parents' belief and support helped them achieve their dreams because the parents actually supported their dreams in the arts that they're actually in. And granted, we haven't talked to athletes or anything. I'm sure that the stories are very similar. And anyone who's accomplished a high level in their career, I would imagine most of those people have a belief system and a support system in their parents who told them it was possible to do this. But that was the thing that I've noticed about Glenn, about Bryce, about myself, about an upcoming interview that we did as well. Yeah. Every single one of us parents, not for 1 second said, you want to be an actor?
Right.
Oh, no, you can't do that. No one did. I joke that my parents wanted me to be a lawyer only because they could, as a parent, your biggest fear is that your child's going to suffer and you can't fix it.
Sure.
My parents are not in this industry. They did not understand this industry. It scared the shit out of them, but they still encouraged me to try it. Mm-hmm. And that, as a parent, I believe, is incredibly important to allow your child to pursue the things that they want to, even if we don't understand it.
It is. And I've been blessed. My dad was, and not that my mom wasn't, but my dad was very supportive of me and always said, like, that's what you want to do. My mom was too, but my dad and I had a pretty close relationship, and he was supportive as far as getting me to do certain things that I wanted to do, whether it was classes, supported me my move to Los Angeles, and that was very helpful. But what I will say about, I have met many, as I'm sure you have as well too, whose parents were not supportive, right? And it's just a different fight you have to fight. And I actually give those people so much credit because of what they have to do in order to maneuver around it. And not just in this business, in any business where your parents are not supportive and you don't have loving parents, you don't have supportive parents.
No, because at that point you're succeeding in spite of,
100%,
not because of.
Yeah, and I think my father-in-law actually, who came from a very, very tough family background, and not a supportive family, not a loving family, and he could have went in a direction that a lot of people go, but instead he turned it around, and he was a professor at USC for over 30 years. He was a successful actor for a handful of years, and a loving father, a loving grandfather. So
he's wonderful. I met him the other night.
Yeah, he's great, and there's that thing, and it's that fight. So there's two sides of it, right? It's that side of it of the, yes, I had this encouragement and I took that encouragement and I made something, and then there's the other side of it if I didn't have it and I fought through it. I made it work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree completely. I told you that I wanted to sit down and actually interview my father on this podcast because my dad is very similar in that sense, that not that he wasn't loved, but his dad died at a very young age.
It's tough.
And he made such a success out of himself that it's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Episode 5.
You did it.
We did it. And I gotta pee.
You gotta pee. All right. So let's say goodbye and let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's say goodbye and let's get out of here.
Perfect.